That's not a bad thing. AJ Brown rightfully
But
believes he's.
I don't think he is a
I
diva.
don't think he is at all. I'm just
I think
saying
he wants the football, but I
right,
don't think
and
that's
that's
a
what I'm saying.
diva.
Like I don't have a problem with that. AJ Brown rightfully believes he's one of the best receivers in football, and he's right about that. So he thinks he should be getting the ball. I don't think he's wrong about that at all. Welcome in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny McMullen. 2 days out now from the Eagles' Week 3 matchup versus the LA Rams, one of the best games on the Week 3 slate. It's a 1 p.m. game at Lincoln Financial in Philly this weekend, so we're ready to go for it. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Friday morning, brother?
I'm pretty good. Dealing with some allergies, I guess, that time of year. But yeah, it's going to be 85 today. It's like South Florida, man.
Yeah,
It's going to
man.
be like training camp.
How's weather for the game supposed to be?
A little bit cooler. I think low 70s, 73. So nice day. But
Yeah.
I think the Rams will feel at home weather-wise.
Yep, nice sunny day. Still low 70s for that game. Week 3 matchup. Johnny Mac, yesterday you were down at the NovaCare Complex late into the evening. You guys get there. You guys have those long days inside that locker room. They don't give you access to late, so we'll talk about that. We'll get into some of the game today. We're going to break down Eagles offensively game plan, Eagles defensively game plan, or at least what the key matchups are on each side of the ball. But John, let's get into start with the updates on where we are right now coming into this Week 3 matchup. Relatively healthy football team, and it seems like both teams are pretty healthy. I know the Rams had a couple nagging injuries. I have to double check what their report was yesterday. I'll do that now. But John, what's the update on the Eagles' injuries and where they are right now coming into the Week 3 matchup versus the Rams?
Yeah, looking good. Everybody practiced. Byron Young showed up. Our Byron Young, Philadelphia's Byron Young, because there's
right.
Byron Young on the Rams, but the Eagles' Byron Young showed up with a lacerated forehead. So I don't think that'll keep him from playing in the game. And that's the only player on the 53-man roster that did not practice at all. Dallas Goedert practiced again in a limited fashion, but positive sign to get him back. Tanner McKee practiced. I think this is the game he will return to being the backup, and Sam Howell will revert to the emergency quarterback. And then Will Shipley back, which was a little bit of a surprise. I thought it would be one more week for him. So he started to practice. Now, I would say he's still iffy for the game. But he's out there on Thursday. That's a positive sign. And Jalen Carter was limited on Wednesday, was back to a full participant on Thursday. So never any doubt that he was going to play, but he's dealing with that shoulder problem that Vic mentioned.
Yeah.
And you saw him holding his arm at times. So it is something to keep an eye on. But
I was rewatching some of the all 22 yesterday, just re-looking at a couple of the plays I was interested in. And I did notice there was a play, Jalen Carter, and I noticed it all game where he was grabbing onto it. But there was one particular play where he made contact with the quarterback, and he just it almost ripped back. And he was just like you could tell that shoulder's really nagging Jalen Carter. I wonder how much that's, kind of taken away from his push at the line of scrimmage. He had some plays where he was really, really a force out there. And then he had a couple plays where I don't want to say he took off, but he basically took off almost because I think he was, maybe a little out of shape, but also maybe that shoulder was really nagging him. Looked like it at least.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I say to fans all the time is just because they're out there playing doesn't mean they're 100%.
Right.
A lot of, especially later in the season, but that's the thing I think is lost in translation. So you say, maybe late in the season when somebody's dealing with something, you say, why is blah 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 not playing well? Well, he's fighting through some things and he's out there because he's better than the alternative. And I think you see that with Jalen Carter fighting through some things. And, when you got to play Sunday and then you got to play Sunday, it's hard to get it better, hard to calm it down.
Yep.
But it's not terribly serious. If it were, he wouldn't be practicing. You'd give him a rest. And I assume they'll do that later in the season. but they have the conditioning issues as well. So they're trying to serve two masters. The worst thing you can do for a conditioning problem is not practice.
Yeah, right.
So you want to ramp that up, and then you also want to try to calm down the injury issue. It's a little bit more complicated that I think a lot of people realize, and it's just a brutal sport. I mean, it still is, even with all the changes and all the safety dogmas. It's still at its core. Play football, you're going to get hurt. And to that point, you brought up the Rams. I think the key one for the Rams is Braden Fisk, who's one of their best defensive linemen.
He was at DNP again yesterday, right?
Yeah. A lot of talk about him too. Offensive lineman Lane Johnson spoke, Landon Dickerson spoke, talked to Jordan Mailata a little bit off the side. A lot of Braden Fisk mentions, and he might not play. So that would be a positive for the Eagles. He has an oblique injury, same injury as Will Shipley. And, if he doesn't practice today, he's probably going to be ruled out.
Yeah,
I would think so. That to me is the key injury from the Rams' perspective.
Yeah, and they also have Steve Avila, I think, who missed yesterday as well. So he's now missed both practices Wednesday and Thursday with DNP. So going to be interesting to see if those guys are out there. Devontae Adams and Robin Hayden, they were both just rest, so they're back to full. So Rams pretty healthy too outside of those two guys, but John mentioned it. Those are two big players for that team. John, going back to the Eagles real quick, forehead laceration. That's a new one, John. I don't forehead laceration for Byron.
Probably his helmet got, my guess would be his helmet got smudged in. Yeah.
Some sort of cut on his forehead.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're trying to calm it down, but I can't imagine. Now, Byron just popped up on the injury report. He practiced Wednesday, so he wasn't in the locker room, so we didn't get a chance to ask him about it. But I assume it happened at practice, not 100%. And if it did, I'm sure he'll be fine for the game. But yeah. Hey, when those helmets get smushed in here, they're not comfortable.
No, they don't look comfortable. I saw Josh Allen. I think he broke his nose last week.
Yeah, he's got to wear the shield on his helmet now. But and he used to do that in college. But
what did you think of that game last night?
The visor, yeah, I'm surprised. I don't think Buffalo's that good. I don't, except for Josh Allen. Like, I think he elevates that team dramatically.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they're good defensively.
I like James Cook, though.
I like James Cook a lot.
Yeah, I love the way he runs, man.
But I think like when people say they're the Super Bowl favorite, like they might have a guy who's tough to deal with. Not maybe they do, but I don't think overall. I don't think they're a well-rounded team. And they really struggled with Miami, who stinks to high heaven.
Divisional game, so maybe give some credence to. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. Home and they've won 14 of 15 again. I mean, they usually destroy that team. I was not impressed by Buffalo at all.
Yeah, it's the defense that I think is just the surprise. I thought they made some moves there to try and improve that. But I'll say this, John. This is why the Bills could be a problem, and it doesn't always mean that they're going to be playing good late. But they're 3-0 right now. They beat the Ravens, the Jets, and the Dolphins. Their next 4 games, John, are the Saints, the Patriots, the Falcons, the Panthers. Then they have the Chiefs, the Dolphins again. Like they don't have very many tough opponents this year. Now it's the NFL.
Well, before the season, I said if there's one team you're going to guarantee is going to win their division, it's the Buffalo Bills. A guarantee are going to win their division. It's the Buffalo Bills because they play in the worst division in football. They're the only good team. The Jets are awful. The Dolphins are awful. The Patriots are awful. Patriots, at least to me, got a better coach and probably heading in a positive direction, but they're bad teams right now, and they're going to go 6-0 in their division. So, yeah, and then you're playing. I believe they're playing the NFC South, so which has some stinkers as well when you talk about Carolina and the Saints.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna look good. The record's gonna look good. Don't get that. I just think they're not as good as people perceive, and it's got nothing to do with Josh Allen. He's
Yeah.
every bit as
Equalizer.
good.
He's the reason that they could be a problem is solely
Yeah.
because of him.
Not solely because you can't do it by yourself, but and as you mentioned, James Cook is very good. Um, but defensively, and they lost Ed Oliver. I don't know how long he's going to be out. I mean, they're not good defensively, and I think that could be an issue down the road. I think Bosa was a nice signing, but he's at this stage of his career, he's a situational guy. You know, they have so many injuries in the secondary. Um, I don't like that defense. Now the linebacker made a great play. Was it a great play though? Um, that interception is everything that is wrong with Tua.
I know.
I mean, what are you doing at this stage of your career? Just and he's always been that guy. He's like a one read guy, and if that one read is not open, like he's got great arm talent. And it can look pretty if that guy is open and McDaniel schemed it up. But if it's not, like he's chucking it, he's putting it in harm's way. And I would not have given him an extension, but that's people are scared at the quarterback position. Because he's good. He's not. He's very talented from an arm talent perspective, but he's not good at playing the position. And what are you going to do? What's the alternative? How do you find an alternative that's better? And I think they could do it pretty easily, to be honest. Maybe not the same way,
Right.
but play the position in a much cleaner fashion.
Yeah, well, you're right about Josh Allen. Can't do it solely, but Dalton Kincaid was his leading receiver last night. Khalil Shakir, Elijah Moore, Terrell Shavers, Keon Coleman. He doesn't have a great list of receivers over there in Buffalo. So it is him leading the pack on that offense. Obviously, James Cook is a good player. That offensive line's a little better too this year, but that's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see how that AFC.
Well, I'm mainly concerned about the defense. I think the defense is not good.
Well, they did give up 40 in the opener to the Ravens, and if it wasn't for Josh Allen heroics, they don't win that football game.
Oh
So
no, I mean, and not only Josh, you needed the combination of Josh Allen heroics and the coaching staff flubbing any kind of time management or things like that. So, and again, that's how quickly the narrative changes. They lose that game, and everybody's like, it's a 2-1 start. Everybody thinks Buffalo's still a good team, but now you got them number one, and they're the best team in football. They're not the best team in football. No way. They might have the best quarterback in football right now. Certainly in the conversation. But no way are they the best team in football.
Yeah, good stuff, Johnny Mac. John, let's get into this Eagles matchup a little bit here. And from yesterday's practice, we'll get just the final reports. Anything else? Yeah, we'll talk about some of the conversations you had in the locker room. I know, John, coming into the year, you always say the locker room is the best part of the job where you can actually learn and talk and get stuff off the record and things of that nature. So what'd you get yesterday, John? Anything good? Anything worth sharing with the great people of JAKIB Nation?
Well, I don't, I don't want to talk about it, but I guess we have to talk about it. But, it was a big offensive line day, and everybody seems to resign that this is it for the tush push, and part of that is the league sends out a tape every week, not just, again, because I think Eagles fans are way too think they're singled out all the time. They send out officiating tapes every week where, they try to get everybody on the same page. This is what we're going to call. This is why this is a penalty. This has been going on for years. They send this tape out every week. This week, they were very clear to call the tush push very tightly moving forward is the word they use, tightly. Acknowledging the Eagles jumped off sides, giving that as the example. and Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata have all seen Cam Jurgens as well. All seem resigned that this is it. You know, maybe they're wrong. I don't think they're wrong, but clearly, from what they're getting behind the scenes as well, it seems very evident that the NFL's had about enough of this.
Yeah, well, John, you were on top of it about 3 minutes into our post-game show last week, where you said, the way that they talked about that show, about that play on the broadcast today, I know we got some changes coming. So I thought we'd get through the year, John. We might not. We might not.
Now, that's one thing. Well, can they do it during the year? I love when people act like it's politics or it's got to get through Congress. They can do whatever the hell they want, basically. If they really want to do something, they did it with Bill. I always bring up the Bill Belichick formational game. They changed that pretty quickly. They change stuff when they want to change stuff. Sometimes it's not even overt. Sometimes you go back to Super Bowl 52. They were calling the pass catching was a big controversy that year because they were calling it very tight. And if the football moved at all, I mean at all, they were calling everything incomplete during the regular season. And they shipped that in the playoffs and they said, well, it's not working. They didn't overtly say it, but they shipped it. They told the officials, look, let it go. And it helped the Eagles in Super Bowl 52 with the Corey Clement touchdown. So, they do this stuff all the time. But in this instance, I don't think they're going to ban it until the offseason. But they might call it so much that you might have to ban it yourself, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because if they're going to call it and they're going to back you up 5 yards, do what I said, Nick. Spread everybody out and let Jalen pick the hole.
Yeah,
You're
right.
still going to convert.
I wonder if they will do that or they'll just go away from it altogether. We'll see. It's going to be interesting to see how that play kind of evolves, John. That we always talk to about NFL ref stats. The guy on Twitter, he was DMing me about basically keep an eye on the play because there's rumblings in the circles that they're officiating it way differently. And if Rogers' crew calls something, then the league has issued the orders, and you basically just confirm they've sent out the emails, so they know it's going to be a lot more tight right this week. So we'll see how that continues to develop here with the tush push. John, any other comments in the locker room? One thing I did hear AJ Brown talking about the passing game. It's always AJ. I mean, they hone in on AJ. They know AJ is going to get the most headlines.
I don't get it, man.
He did say a couple things. And again, I've said this to many people here listening to the show, and I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here. Don't forget to hit that like button. But, if AJ Brown keeps saying, hey, it's fair to talk about we're not good enough yet. If Jalen Hurts tells me, okay, it's on me, we got to be better in the passing game. If Kevin Patullo acknowledged it, Nick Sirianni, everybody's acknowledged it. But apparently we're not allowed to talk about it, Johnny Mac. Well, it is a problem, and AJ Brown made comments on it yesterday. Basically just said, hey, getting on the same page, communication. But he also did say the ball's got to be there at the right time. So I thought that was maybe a small comment that would get a little bit more of the rounds. It didn't get many rounds, but just your thoughts on AJ's comment there and where to go from here, because they obviously all know they got to get better at it.
Yeah. This has been, this is not new. This happened a bunch of times last year.
Yeah.
I don't know why people think it's new. Now, the timing probably complicates it. It happened in games 1 and games 2 instead of games 13 and 14, whatever it was last year, with Baltimore and Carolina back to back. Same thing. Everybody's saying that for whatever reason, AJ, and by the way, he tried to, flat out said, I don't want to give you guys a story late in the week.
Yeah.
He's trying his best, but what are you going to do? What do you want the guy to do? He's forced to talk to us. It is an NFL rule. You have to talk to the media at least once a week. So for people that don't know that, if you're healthy and going to play.
And that does that apply to every player or just
Yeah, every player.
every
Now,
player?
some try to get it, some you have to say, hey, look, we're going to report it to the league. We don't do that in general. If guys, maybe, because it is Philadelphia, it's tougher than other markets, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And we generally as a group don't force the issue unless it's overt and somebody doesn't speak for 6 weeks or, something outrageous. And they're an important part of the team as well. That factors into it. If you're AJ Brown, you got to talk. If you're Jalen Hurts, you're the quarterback. You have to talk.
Yeah.
A lot of
Well,
times
they have pressers every week for Jalen. I don't think he's escaping the media.
Well, no, quarterbacks are
Yeah.
set up a little bit differently. But
Yeah.
I'm saying if you're a star player, people want to talk to you.
Right.
And, the NFL understands part of their popularity is the coverage they receive. So they have set up these rules. And that it's part of the players' jobs. They have to talk to the media. So I think a lot of people are like, fans are like, well, just don't talk to them. Well, you have to talk to them. And, you can shut it down and say no comment and be unprofessional, but that's not AJ Brown. And you shouldn't want that for any of your players to be unprofessional. So, yeah, I don't know why he gets picked on, to be perfectly honest, because Jalen Hurts took accountability earlier on Wednesday. Kevin Patullo has admitted it's not where it needs to be. Nick Sirianni has admitted the lack of explosive plays is a problem. And then AJ shows up and says, all he said basically was, I'm trying to focus on my job and getting things rolling on offense. Being on the same page, is that really that controversial?
No, it's not.
And then he went straight to, I don't want to give you guys a story late in the week and shut it down from there. Ball not coming out on the time. Does anybody think the ball's coming out on time? Does anybody believe that?
No, it's not. I love John. My favorite part of it, though, I got to be honest, is in the background right after the question is asked, Bob Lang. Okay, this is all right. Last one. I'm like, I know it. I know they're trying to protect.
Yeah, I don't think Bob was there. That was somebody else.
Somebody, whoever it was, somebody was there. Yeah, getting people out of there.
But I mean, he spoke for a long time. So that was late in the process. So I got my transcript. He answered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Oh, that's a lot.
15,
I didn't know it was
15
that long.
questions.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, he spoke for he spoke. I was in there first. Then I left to talk to Jordan Mailata, and then I came back and he was still talking.
Right.
And then I circle in with AJ after everybody leaves.
I know people are focused on AJ, John, but I will say this. AJ is generally pretty interesting. Like, he normally will give you some pretty good answers about stuff. I think he's, he speaks about it with some depth and some content. Sometimes, I mean, I know.
There's different AJs. There's the AJ you see with the cameras shoved in his face, and that's the guy who's gonna be more on point. And that's probably not the right way of showing it, but you got to ask about the zone coverage. Everybody's zoning them up.
Right.
Are you going to see more zone coverage? He said, I don't know. I can't tell you. Probably so until we do better at it. Absolutely. That's the extent of it. Now, if you get him off, he'll give you a deeper answer. So that's one of the things where background is important. And that's why the locker room is important. But yeah, when the TV cameras are there, he's far more disciplined. And that's not the right word either. He's just not.
I know what you mean.
He's literally, despite the reputation that he's literally trying to not create waves.
Right.
despite the reputation. And as I said off the air with you, I think his reputation has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with other receivers that have coined that position in this league as a diva position, which has nothing to do with AJ Brown.
Well, I mean, I not struggle with that part of it, but like if AJ's a little bit of a diva, like you always say, that's not a bad thing. AJ Brown rightfully
But
believes he's.
I don't think he is a diva.
I don't think he is at all. I'm just
I think
saying
he wants the football, but I
right,
don't think
and that's what I'm
diva.
saying. Like I don't have a problem with that. AJ Brown rightfully believes he's one of the best receivers in football, and he's right about that. So he thinks he should be getting the ball. I don't think he's wrong about that at all. So I understand that people make stories about it. It's just part of the beast in Philadelphia. There's no doubt about it. But we'll see what they end up doing this week, how they continue to evolve. I do think AJ will get his yards. One of these weeks. I mean, maybe not as much as
it's
like,
not gonna. It literally can't stay where it is.
That's what I mean. It can't get worse either. So I'm thinking it's going to get a little better here. I mean, come on.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Like I said, at some point, and it's probably going to be this week. You can never guarantee these things, but probably at some point, the personality of the game will take care of it.
Right.
They played 2 games. Now, Dallas, they were very effective. I think people forget that. They were very effective moving the ball, moving the sticks, touchdown, 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 field goal on their first 4 possessions. Can it get more effective? They just did it in a different way. And then you had the delay, and both offenses just went sour. So that was weird. And then they're on the road at Kansas City. And I said yesterday a couple times, I think they pay too much deference to Kansas City, assuming it's the old Kansas City team. Like you go into Arrowhead, you're like, oh, this is going to be a problem. And it is a problem because nobody in Kansas City has figured out that they're not that good anymore.
Right.
So they're still fired up. It's the home opener. So you still have the environment problems. That was real. But playing into it, that was more of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like they were giving them too much respect for where they are. And when you play that sheltered, when you play that cautious, you're basically playing into making it, a 1-score game where a play is going to make the difference.
Exactly. John, let me say this, and we have one comment here on this, and I'll get John to either walk me off the ledge or tell me if there's any credence to my thought process on it. And then I got to bring up something that Jimmy Kempski wrote. I'm a big fan of the way Jimmy Kempski writes. He is not a bombastic, looking for clicks type of writer, very realist writer. And he wrote something I want to talk to you about, John. And then we're going to dive into coming up here, the Eagles versus the Rams game, diving into offensively, the game plan, the approach, the matchups, key matchups there offensively. And then we'll also do defensively, and we'll take some comments from the great people of JAKIB Nation as well. This is, John, and I don't know if I'm right on this, but if I had to put myself in a position as an Eagle fan, the most pessimistic thing that I could think about with this would be, to me, it seems like they've stopped trying to evolve the offense. They've stopped trying to evolve the quarterback. It's almost like, and again, it's only week 2, so maybe this is a way over exaggeration, but they did what they did last year, and it worked so successfully there, it was very hard to criticize it. Now you're coming into this year where you had in a whole offseason, you returned 10 of 11 starters, and instead of coming out and trying to have a better version of your offense, a more explosive version of your offense, the better utilization of all the weapons on the offense, it again feels like they've condensed down. And that to me is, all right, if they're not a great 1 week, they could always be better next week. The worst part of it to me is I feel like they've stopped trying to build. They've stopped trying to stack the blocks on the offense to get better, to evolve it, grow it, and especially the quarterback. Do you think I'm going too far with that? Or is that too much? Or is it fair to wonder if they've kind of taken on this approach and they've stopped looking for the evolution? It's just dumbed down to no turnovers and clean football.
No, but I don't think they've condensed it down. I would say they picked up where they left off. I don't think they've condensed it down. They already condensed it down. to what it was last year. Now, you don't want this to happen, but the only thing that's going to change that mindset is failure. So a lot of, be careful what you wish for type of thing, because the only thing that's going to change that mindset and say, well, okay, we can't play this way any longer, is if teams start beating them. Which has not happened to this point. And I think most people who watch this show don't want it to happen. So, that's a be careful what you wish for type of thing. Now, there will be games, and again, you don't have to look very far. Look back to last year. There will be games like Pittsburgh and the playoffs against Washington and Kansas City where it looks better. Because the personality of the game either is desirous to that or it forces it. There will be those games. But from a passing game perspective, they're not going to be what people want them to be, certain people. They're never going to be that in this incarnation. They don't want to be that. So that's part of it. But it's not even about evolution. It's about, if to me, evolution is probably the wrong word. It's probably execution. Like if Grant Calcaterra makes a block, everybody's happy. They're taking a deep shot to AJ. First play of the game.
That's a big what if. That. Even if Grant hits that block, there's no guarantee that play is complete because somebody saw a receiver running free on an all 22. That's
pretty clear guarantee. I mean, the quarterback could misfire. AJ could drop the ball. Jalen's a good deep ball thrower. AJ, if the ball's going to be there, AJ's going to catch it. I mean, you're right to the point that, yes, it happens in every game. Drops, blah, blah, blah. Travis Kelce can't count on it. CeeDee Lamb can't count on it. But I'm just talking from the perspective of, the bullshit argument of they don't do this, they don't do that. And when it's dialed up and it's not executed correctly, it's different than when it is dialed up and executed correctly.
Right.
Well, from the standpoint of the play calling and the evolution of the offense, there's no difference. There's no difference. You're dialing up the same play. One is successful, one is not. One is successful because you executed it correctly. One is unsuccessful because you didn't. And, that's football. It takes all. That's another thing AJ said. Not that Nick talks about it all the time. It literally takes all 11 guys. That's why, the weakest link is the weakest link on a particular play. One guy screws it up, the play's screwed.
Right. Yeah, so they're trying. I mean, I think that's good context. I don't like the approach of do the bare minimum to win. I think you can do more than that, but we'll see how it evolves. Good stuff, John. I appreciate you talking to me about that one. John, one thing I want to bring up, I just mentioned Jimmy Kempski, and then we're going to dive into this Eagles-Rams Week 3 matchup. Should be a good one. This is a great game. I know it's early in the season, but these are two great teams. I like this matchup. This is a good one here between the Eagles and the Rams. 1:00 game. You got McVay, you got Fangio, Stafford. Obviously, the Eagles as the powerhouse that they are. Jimmy Kempski wrote an article, John, before we get into that game. All right, and he says, I love the way Jimmy writes. It feels like Howie Roseman and the Eagles will eventually make a splash trade. And that was the title of his article. And he basically writes, after the Micah report, is it just me who feels this way? That he says, is it just us, or does it feel like the Eagles are on the cusp of making a big trade this fall? Now, Jimmy ends the article by saying, so who? I don't know. Corner, another D lineman, really any special player, I would think. And I just have to ask you, does it feel like that to you too? And if it does, where do you think it would be? Because Jimmy didn't have much of a speculation on where it would be. But I kind of have that feeling too that Howie's not going to rest on his laurels this year.
No, I think, clearly Micah was a guy that, but the circumstance, if Micah had played on the Tennessee Titans, maybe he's here. I don't see that player shaking out, especially during the season. Is it always possible somebody goes in the tank? Who at cornerback is going to fit that description?
Yeah, I don't know.
So there aren't a lot of splash cornerbacks, I would say, by the nature of the position. He's not trading for Patrick Surtain. So, I mean, who would fit that description at corner? And B, edge rusher, bunch of guys would fit that description. You've already been through the ringer. I mean, Miles, too expensive, too old, Micah, yeah, but he plays on Dallas. Trey Hendrickson, no, they didn't want him. Different reasons. I mean,
Yeah, like I would think, I guess, closer to the deadline where a team might be selling. I don't know, like a Dolphins team. You know what I mean?
Well, that's like a baseball mentality, which typically doesn't happen. Now, again, it's becoming more like that, where guys are willing, again, younger GMs are willing to make moves. So you've already seen it. That's why Howie made so many August moves, but because other people are more willing to do it, but it's still not reached the level of baseball or basketball where people are just going to sell their best player.
Yeah, right.
That's not the NFL. So might he make a trade at the deadline? Yeah, of course. I mean, he's Howie Roseman. He doesn't like to sit still. I guess my question is and that's individual people's perspectives. Like, what do you consider a splash? Like I consider a splash Micah Parsons.
That is, I would consider that a tsunami.
Yeah. I even somebody we've talked about some of the edge rushers, Trayvon Walker, Jalen Phillips.
I don't think they're going to go edge after Zadarius. I feel like
exactly. And I've already said Zadarius. And by the way, I think Zadarius is going to play well, and I think people are going to stop that because he's going to play well.
Well, how do you feel? Because that was your biggest concern.
Yeah, I feel very good with Zadarius here.
Yeah.
The
order is back. The order is back to what it should be. You got
Zadarius
and Nolan, and then you have Jalix in the third role. I think it's much better.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, that'll end up, in my opinion, being the best move Howie made. And he's got to stay healthy, and he is 33, and he's got a history of wearing down. So, I mean, you got to be cautious, but dude can play. I mean, you saw it. He walked out there up, no acclimation period, as Vic would point out. He's just fine. And they'll be careful before they ramp up his snaps. But he's going to be big addition to this team. As far as corner, look, it's clear that they're not in love with Jacorian Bennett after making the trade.
Yeah, no.
They don't think about Kaylee Ringo at all. Maybe that changes.
It's the only spot though left, John. That's like I think we had questions at safety. Makuba, while he has some stuff to clean up, but as a rookie player, looks very promising, looks very good. Jahad Campbell obviously looks everywhere else on the defense. I mean, including now the D line. It feels like the only spot they really could make a trade on the entire team is corner. I mean, where else are they going to add? Nowhere in offense.
And what constitutes what constitutes a splash there? Again, you're not getting Patrick Surtain. You're not getting Sauce Gardner.
Denzel Ward is a name people love, but they ain't traded him.
Well, that's not a splash. The guy's,
he's pretty good.
Well, he's pretty good, but again, I guess my definition of splash is more splashier. I mean,
well, you're only looking at the top 2-3 guys from 3-4 guys from each position, basically on splash.
Well, I mean, if you think everybody's a splash, sure, they can make a splash. So, I think
I would at this stage of where the Eagles are, anything where
and they get somebody who's better. Yeah, of course they can get somebody who's better. I mean, of course they can get somebody who's better, but I think our old friend Josh Jobe is the 11th ranked cornerback in the NFL.
Yeah, I saw
that. That's a position like baseball relievers. You have an up year, you have a down year. So anybody who comes in, I think, is going to be somewhat disappointing to the fan base, unless they define it like that, which is, well, he's better than what we had. And the hope was that Jacorian Bennett would be better than what they had already, and maybe will be. But right now, I think it's Adoree Jackson's job to lose. And
Yeah.
and by the way, this might be the week he loses it, because this is a big time receiving group coming in. Big time. And that pass rush better help out the secondary, because Matthew Stafford will find them if he's got time. So you better speed him up.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We'll see. We'll see what they end up doing there. I think the cornerback would be the only spot, but you're right. I don't really know. Here's Eduardo says Christian Gonzalez is a splash. Now that would be a splash.
What? Well, yeah, I guess from the reputation perspective. But why is New England trading him? Like, why? What's in it for them?
I don't know. I don't know enough about New England to tell you whether they would be moving.
I mean, I guess Mike Vrabel could hate him. One of the best defensive coaches in football, but that's not positive. Obviously he didn't draft him. So there's always that mentality when you shift. Maybe, but he's in his third year as being the 17th overall pick. So they have him locked up through 2027. They're a bad football team trying to get better. He's one of their best players.
Yeah, they're not getting rid of him.
Why would it make any sense whatsoever? That's, again, you have to look at the other side.
Yeah, Eduardo says he's just saying it's a splash, Johnny Mac.
Well, yeah, well, that's fine, but I'm like I'm trying to bring the context to the conversation. Like, you could play fantasy football and say go get Sauce Gardner,
right?
Because he's on a bad team, but they just signed him to an extension. Yeah, again, I'm not here to play fantasy football and just say, oh, trade Jacorian Bennett for Sauce Gardner. Yeah, right. You could say that.
We're looking for a realistic splash, as Dan
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I just thought the article was interesting because Jimmy. Jimmy is not the kind of guy to write shit to drum up clicks. That's not Jimmy at all. So he wrote it, and I'm like, if Jimmy's feeling it, I wonder what he knows or what he's thinking about from being down there every day. So I just wanted to bring it up on the show.